What's up, gang? I just got off of work, which is why I'm dressed so nicely. Did not think I'd have time to make this video right now, but here we are. We're going to be getting into it. I actually recorded this whole video earlier this week at some point. Woke up early in the morning, recorded it. It was great. Mic was on, everything, checked it, and for some reason, I don't know, my computer updated weird, something didn't. Anyway, it was like on my microphone, but not on my computer. So there's like a whole video of me just, and I was so mad. I was so mad. Yeah, some things may have come out of my mouth that I was not supposed to. So yeah, gonna need some forgiveness on that one. So what I'm just gonna be talking about today is the fact that most people want to stand out. They want, success, all these things, but really it's just to be different. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a good thing. You should stand out. So the main premise of this video is going to be talking about 8 disciplines that I personally follow that make me stand out. And I don't stand out in any way, shape, or form in being wealthy. Like, I'm not that type of standing out. But there's other ways to stand out. So that's what I'm getting into. So yeah, I'm not a millionaire, but having money is not the only way to stand out. If you just follow just at least a few of these 8 disciplines I'm about to give you, you'll stand out no problem. And the first one is the most important. We're going to jump straight into it, and that is your faith. That is the thing that builds your character, and your character is what makes you different from anyone else. When you think about it, it's who you are. So faith is what influences you the most. And if you don't know this already, I'm a Christian. If you haven't watched any of my other content, I don't try to pour on it too hard because it's like a Christian specific channel. It's a self-improvement, but it's like a huge part of my character and who I am today is because of my beliefs. So standing out, being a Christian is it's not something that I can tell you how to do. I like to include action steps, and I will include action steps for every of these 8 disciplines that I'm giving you. But for being a Christian, just read your Bible, pray. I'm not going to tell you how to, but that's just my advice. And there's a reason why this is number one. It's faith. Your faith is the center of everything. And if you don't have anything like this, it's going to be hard to stand out from the world. All right, once you got that firm foundation in your beliefs, you're ready to move on to more external things. The second thing is big. It's obviously, I kind of put these not necessarily exactly in order of importance, but kinda. So the second thing is being able to learn on your own. It's being self-taught in some sort of way, shape, or form. It's because the school system, modern, teachings, they'll fail you, and they'll fail you miserably. It's going to be bad. If you just rely on what you get taught in schools or whatever, or even in college, it's not going to be looking good for you. Every single high performer had to learn on their own. They had to set themselves apart by learning on their own. Just doing what other people tell you is not going to cut it. One of the reasons why this is so important is even the faith sentence I talked about for the number one. If you just, church is good, but if you just listen to what your pastor says and that's it, and don't go out and read your Bible on your own, pray on your own, then I frankly want to say it's not going to be enough. You got to have that own drive and desire to learn on your own. All right, my action step for y'all for being able to learn on your own is to pick something that, one, you're interested in, you genuinely want to learn about, and two, is useful. Because if you have just one and not both, then it's going to be hard to stay consistent with it and really go all the way and deep dive in your learning to it. So just pick something that you're interested in and has value. Maybe whatever it is, like a book about that, or you can listen to a podcast, whatever. Go to some sort of event, but that's kind of more on the extreme side. Learn about it. That's the hearing. We say learn as in you heard this thing and you conceptualized it. That's not learning. Alex Hormozy explained this really well to me, and well, not to me, but just in general, but to me it just hit where learning is how it's all about changing your action. If you learn something but don't change your action, then you didn't learn. You just got that mental understanding, but it's not really learning. So say, I learned that, setting goals is good and does that. Oh yeah, that's cool. I learned that, but I don't set goals or whatever, take action on that. Then I didn't learn. That does nothing. So what I want you to do after you learn something from the thing you chose is to take some sort of action towards that. And once you do that, voila, you just learned something on your own. All right, so you got, your character is getting built, you're learning some things, you're taking action, but your body needs to keep up. So the third thing is to work out in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, this is going to be different for whatever your goals are. If you want to be, top bodybuilder or whatever, it's going to be a lot more extreme than someone who wants to be just generally fit. But, the thing that makes this so easy, why it's easy to stand out is just because everyone else is fat and lazy, to be completely honest. And just by being somewhat fit, you just show you represent many things, discipline, all this sort of thing, consistent, but just you have that care and just being healthy just is the easiest way to visually stand out. You can have character differences, but they're not really going to know unless they see your actions. But just looking at you, they can really tell if you're consistent working out and being healthy. So yeah, I can't really prescribe an exact action step for you. That depends on your goals. But working out in some way, shape, or form is really easy to do. There's so many videos about it. Just figure out what your goal is and do something. Working out is great, but you won't get results from it unless you implement this next discipline, which is just healthy consumption. That's, food, drink, snacks, whatever, anything that goes in your mouth. Make sure it's healthy. This is so obvious, yet barely anyone does it because, bad food, bad drinks, whatever it is just so abundant, easy to get and cheap. and taste good, to be completely honest. But these things, like the ability to eat well, is so respected because everyone like wants to be able to do it, but they just don't quite have the willpower. It's not even that much willpower. It's just making a few smart decisions ahead of time that make it easy for you in the moment. One action step I'd give for you this is when people think about, changing their diet, it's like a huge thing. Like, oh, I got to change all these things, get rid of the whole drawer, we're going, and it's just way too extreme. So they never take real action towards it. What I want you to do is just pick a few of the meals that you eat often. Just think, most of the time we think, we're diverse, we eat things differently. But if you really just think about the meals you eat often on, weekly or every other weekly basis, just find those meals and make them slightly healthier. Or maybe, like I said, earlier, for the working out, it depends on your goals. So if you just want to be slightly healthier, make them slightly better. But if you want to, be extreme, fitness level, then you're going to need to make a lot more radical changes. All right, this next discipline is one that guys are a lot more guilty of than girls are. And that is hygiene and a clean environment. I kind of put this all in one, just kind of, a cleanliness type vibe. So, but one for hygiene, I'm not like a looks maxing guy or anything, but just putting like a little bit of effort into it helps so much. And just, I'll just leave it at that. Really, it's just a little bit of effort. Clean yourself up a little bit. Shave, shower, do all that stuff. Make sure you don't have boogers hanging out your nose. It helps a lot. And then the cleanliness in the environment sense is really important for your focus because a messy room can kind of make your mind a little messy. Equals a messy mind, some people say. And there's some truth to that for sure. You can just tell if your room's disorganized, can kind of make you a little more disorganized too. So just workspace, wherever it is, your own room, your house, anything, keep it clean a little bit. Just went and visited some friends at UC and some of their roommates. It looked like there was a tornado that swept through there. I understand times get busy, but cleanliness is a big part of just being able to stand out because it's easy to do and not that many people do it. And what I really think about this is there's a big sense about pride and how it's bad, but I think if you take a little bit of pride in how you look and how your space look, that's okay because you take care of the things you care about. So if you care about it a little bit, you'll take care of it. All right, once you cleaned up your actual space, it's time to clean up your digital space. I'm talking about your screen time. If you're getting older, moving out, that's kind of the point of the video is kind of disciplines to make you different. Kind of applies to the rest of the world. For me, I'm getting older, moving out, how to be different than the rest of the world. Clean up your digital space, not just necessarily like what you are consuming, but also the amount of time you're consuming. If you're still getting older and you're still like losing hours scrolling or whatever, replying on social media, even seems good, and you're like, oh, replying to a friend, keep it in touch, it's great. You lose a ton of time doing that, and when you think about it, it's not good. And you should be old enough by now. You can realize, do a little retrospection or reflection or whatever the word is. Just think like, yeah, I get kind of anxious when I like scroll or whatever on social media, and I lose a lot of time. You should be able to step outside yourself a little bit and think about it as a whole. Like, is this good for me? What to do for this, kind of your action step, is really, once again, based on what kind of goals you have. I would recommend just going cold turkey, deleting it. A lot of people don't have the strength for that. And I can see how. I mean, you think about it, you're competing against, these insanely smart scientists and marketers who know how your human brain works. They know all like the little tricks and, gizmos and gadgets to how it works and what attracts you and what makes you want to click and stay clicking forever. So you're competing against, the ultimate boss pretty much. So I like to think it's better to avoid the dragon than to slay it, avoid the monster. And just thinking that who are you to have enough willpower, enough inner strength as like a little kid to be able to resist these insane, marketing strategies and scientists, their little ploys that they use to get you to stay on there. So I think, saying, oh, I'm just not going to control it, make sure I don't spend that much time. You're just like, yeah, really? Like, come on now. There's other things you can do, like put screen time like limits on there or blocker apps, which I think is definitely a step in the right direction. But it's definitely, there's ways around those and it can be inconsistent. So I think just straight up deleting it is the main thing. That's just really the action step for you guys, is either implement some sort of method to make sure you spend less time on it, or straight up deleting it. And honestly, not saying, oh, you have to delete it forever, but if you just delete it for a week, see how you feel, see that you really didn't miss that much, or maybe it'd probably be longer. 21 days probably would be best because it'd be enough to like build a new habit in its stead. But just at least a little bit amount of time realizing like, oh, life goes on. I still have friends. I'm still breathing. It's all right. You don't need social media. All right, so once you have a little bit of control over your attention, it's time to control your finances a little bit more. The main goal, kind of I want you to get to, is to just not spend money on dumb things. Now, obviously, dumb is relative based on what your beliefs are, or whatever. But for me, there's like a little saying like, if it won't matter in 5 years, don't spend 5 minutes thinking about it. My little thing is, if it won't be important to you in 5 years, I wouldn't spend $5 on it. So I'm kind of on the frugal side to be honest, because I didn't necessarily come from money or anything. Like, we're middle class, we're normal, I guess. But I have to pay for a lot of things myself, so I've always been more frugal. And like the idea of like, oh, going out to eat all the time, or a coworker that goes drinks after work, and I'm just like, you just spent half your shift money. Like, what are we doing? I mean, everyone has their right to their own decisions, but just being smart with what you spend your money on. Because when you think about it, and you can spend your money on something short term, or for me, there's a lot more purpose in saving it or utilizing it, spending it in smart ways that will matter in the future. There's nothing wrong with spending money, but just what you spend it on is the important thing. All right, so I know I kind of mentioned these might be in kind of order of most to least important, but this last discipline may be one of the top priority ones, but I put at the end because it just fits there. All right, work with me. So the last discipline is to use your calendar or some sort of schedule because it helps you stay consistent. When you think about all these other habits or disciplines I mentioned, if you're not consistent with them, it's not going to do anything. If you stay off your phone for a little bit and then just go right back to it, like, that's just pointless. If you read a little bit of a book or something trying to learn, but then just go back and don't keep doing that, then it's pointless. So you have to be consistent with all these disciplines for them to actually matter and make a relevant change in your life. So I have always, not always, but once I really got into self-improvement, I would make a plan for the next day, the night before, that helped me a lot be more focused. Because anytime I have a little bit of downtime, like, oh, what's the plan? I would go like hour by hour typically. Some people go like in a short amount of time, like every half hour or like every 15 minutes, like to be like exact what they're doing. I don't do like exactly what's on my time, but it helps me stay a lot more focused. And I can try to like, oh, finish this one thing a little bit quicker than I thought I would. Just get to be a little bit competitive with myself, which is fun. Then also, what I didn't always do, but now I kind of got forced to it. I have to, and it's so helpful. It's actually utilizing your calendar. This is super simple, but for some reason, like, I wasn't using it, and like I would overschedule things. Like, I'd have one thing scheduled on top of another, or I'd be like, shoot, I forgot I had this thing. Sometimes that still happens when I don't write it down, but it's gotten a lot better and helps me organize things in the long term. So the action step for this is, write. I just have like a little bit like this. It's just like a little notebook that I just write down, like a little hour by hourly, what I'm gonna do, and I either like cross it off when I finish it, or I just go through it and then start implementing stuff in your calendar. So when you follow these 8 disciplines, you stop reacting to life and start leading the life you want to have. Things just kind of flow towards you that are normally like harder to get, and it's easier to set yourself apart. So I personally do all these things that I mentioned. I try to keep my content super real, super practical of what's real life, really what I'm doing, not just speculative. There's a lot of speculation I have, but just the real of what I'm doing in my life to kind of set myself apart. So these 8 disciplines have really helped in that. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe. With that, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.